Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what is round 4 here at the Chinese Grand Prix. A really good race, an exciting track, at least, not race. Someone's already spun in his outlap. And that's Williams also in the background that spun, I believe, Savvy. So it looks like we have 2 spinners already on their outlaps. So I don't know if that's going to be a good sign going towards the race, or if it's going to be a bad sign. But right, I promised last time I'd fix my stuff and actually check out the standings. So Ruthful and Yasin are both tied with 58 points for a lead, with Jesse behind him with 41 points and Hazy 28, 18, 17, 12, 12, and then it's super close from there onwards. So the championship leader currently right now is both Ruthful and Yasin. So depending on which one will cross the line first, we'll go on board with. I believe it's Yasin. He's not even out. Alright, so we'll go on board with the lap with Ruthful once he does his lap. So I'm pretty sure both drivers have finished in the exact same positions each race. Or yeah, something like that. They both finished twice and both finished first, I think, or third and then first. Not exactly sure how it panned out, but right, anyways, go on board a lap here with Ruthful, the previous championship winner. Cross line now into 8th gear, before it was 7th, high rev. As you turn in and get the car straight alongside the curb, you want to slowly go down the gears, and around this bit you want to cut back in 2nd gear. Use 2nd gear as well, 1st gear to get that extra rotation, and once the car is straight, apply full throttle. It's very easy to lose the back end though, however, since it's a long left-hander, a bit like turn 1 in Vietnam. Here, a little bit after the curb starts, you want to go into 2nd gear and then quickly gear up into 3rd to get the maximum traction exiting the corner. Now the very long left-hander here, very easy to clip the inside on worn tires and lose the back end, but here, remain tight in 4th, and down to 2nd, quickly up to 3rd, and then 4th, just to get that extra traction going through this left-hander. And he's gone a little bit too wide there, a little bit too greedy on the exit, and that's his lap invalidated. So we'll go on board, I believe, the racing point of the inaudible gamer, who is on the mediums. The strategy around here will be either softs hards or medium softs. If you can get the mediums long, you should be able to do that. But yeah, I expect Paul to be a mid-29, possibly early 29 with the fast boys here, but yeah, oh my goodness gracious me, Jesse was a 129.3, okay, so my mid-29s have been absolutely yeeted outside the window. Could even be a late 128, as he's currently a 2nd clear of everyone on the track right now, but on board with the hot lap, just as the curb starts here, down into 1st gear, and quickly up into 2nd to get the best traction exiting the corner. Here, there's no really exact turning in point, but I definitely know you brake just as you pass the board, and then gear up really quickly, and he crosses the line to spin himself, and a 131.8 on the mediums, when John has actually done a 131.0 on the mediums. So that's a really good lap. Inaudible gamer, take notes. I'm joking. We'll go on board with Yasin, who is not out yet, but I believe will be coming out sooner or later, as Puller Hazza comes across the line to start his lap. So I'll talk through his lap once he goes through the bit where Ruthful extended there, and then I'll stop once I go where I saw the inaudible. Here we go. Oh my god, excuse me, and that is Puller Hazza's qualifying over. He ran over the curb and then was sent spinning into the wall, and with full damage here, he's going to lose that wheel, so now he's going to be dead last, and at least he'll be able to start on the freshest of mediums. But someone who is on lap, I'll go on board here, even though, yeah, brake just as the curb starts into 2nd gear, then quickly up into 3rd to get the best traction here, going very, very cautious, and then once you're around this point, that's when you want to apply full throttle. I get a nice slingshot exit, heading towards the final couple of corners, but he's invalidated his lap, so I'll move on. That's a Mercedes of, I believe that is Maple's out, yes. Now there's actually a camera in the pit lane, and you can call me pit lane or pit lane spectator camera lover, Justin, because I just really like how they added that. It's a nice touch and makes it really easy, rather than having to see the whole pit lane. And I believe you can actually see the pit stops now. I believe you could before, now I think about it, but when people go into finish the laps, that's what I mean. But now Ruthful is on an out lap. He's going to start his lap before Maple will. Other than that, no one's really on a lap, I don't think. Oh, Fox is actually. He's on 2-lap old mediums. He's 3 seconds slower than his previous best, so we'll move on to Ruthful now, who's going to set his time, you'd imagine. Now, is a 29.3 is a really good benchmark time, by the way. It's not even, good. It's like extremely good benchmark time. My benchmark time around here would be like a 30.8. So to make it, a 29, that's impressive to say the least. Now, will Ruth will be able to do that? I don't know. He has surprised us quite a bit. This season, he might not be in the position where he want to be, especially since last year he was so dominant. But came third in the first race, which was a podium, and I believe finished second in Bahrain. And last week he won it, so 3-2-1. So can he make it 3-2-1-1, and then just keep going on from there? But he's getting a bit of traffic in front of him. And I know on camera it doesn't look like anything, but what they did this year is that imagine as if there's an imaginary line behind that sticks out. It's like a really long tail. If you want to put it that way, that extends for like a few car lengths, especially through here. He's definitely going to feel the effects of it, where dirty air is very, very bad. As he moves out the racing line, he will definitely have got some effects there going through the long right-hander. There's definitely not something, there's definitely no doubt he's going to get a bit of issues from there, but as I saw in the right mirror, the runout got really close, so I'd say you'll probably be able to be enough for P2 this lap. It comes across the line, it is P2 with 129.6, so a really good banker lap as well, as he lets the Renault driver by to set his lap. But he still hasn't set a lap, so he might just be opting to go for using 2 sets rather than 1. Actually, no, he's gone to the medium, so yeah, so he's probably only going to use the 1 set, since hards have been removed from qualifying. You cannot do, banker lap on the hards just to try and get a feel for a track. It's either you waste the softs to get your banker lap and don't actually complete the lap, you just do it like an out lap and come into the pits immediately, or you do the big old risk like Yasin has and Open Stakes is used, but puts himself into P3 with 1.3.2. That is kind of your championship order, except Yasin should be P1, Ruthful P2, well, equal P points. Yeah, somewhat like that. It says Ruthful's on 0 lap old softs, but I doubt that. He's warming up his tires, and there's a racing point behind him. And they're all waiting up, they're all queuing up now. Now, will Jesse be able to set a faster lap than a 129.3? Not that I have no expectations for him, but a 129.3 is already a mega lap. Now, will he be able to do that? Or improve from that? I don't know. But I believe the McLaren was thinking that Jesse was going back into the pits, so now he's going to have a bit of dirty air through this first sector. He's on the mediums though, so Jesse will extend. But I believe that's Josh who's right behind him. Now, he's definitely going to feel the effects of dirty air there. No questions asked. Now, I don't know about the weather situation going into this race. It looks dry for qualifying already, as I have the big brain and I can easily tell things. They're happening on screen, but it seems to be dry for the moment. And I missed his first sector split, so while he goes through his second split, I'm going to see he is not improving. He is 600 down on his time, as on the bottom it says the fast lap. Thank you very much, game. I've known that for the past 6, 7, 8 minutes even. But China always gives good races. Personally, I don't really like China. Let me rephrase. I don't like the track China, but I don't mind China itself. Even though, okay, no, this is not the place to say that. Anyways, but I don't like the track at all. I just don't like the flow of it. But in when you look in the commentators' point of views when racing, it definitely seems like a lot of fun and a lot of action. There's a lot of overtaking places, as well as Fox completely spins into the wall there in the final corner as we ride on board, and there's the road of Fox there. Jesse's actually going to improve. He said to 29.0. So Jesse, from what I can see, is OP at this track and needs to be banned. Okay, he's 6/10 clear of Ruthful, who I do remind you was the championship leader, or is the championship leader alongside with Yasin, and who is actually the championship defender, who won last season as well by quite some margin, to Yasin. So Jesse, I think, is the new competitor this season, who is looking to fight his way up into the big guys, and I'm pretty sure he has a full-time seat now in the Mercedes, because I do remember him being in the Ferrari in his first race as not Chris, but it's like Clist or something in Bahrain, and he won it there. And last week he came third in Vietnam. So good points for Ruthful and Jesse, and yes, it was P2 last week, and the week before that he finished P3, and the week before that he finished P2. So all really good points for the three contenders. However, one has won more races, and I believe that is Ruthful, who's won one. Otherwise, yes, and actually no. Ruthful and Jesse are tied for wins, but when it comes to podiums, Ruthful has more, because Jesse joined in Bahrain, not in Australia, or at least the name Jesse wasn't there. But Cute Butt's on the outlap. We have a race, or not racing, yeah, it is a racing point, who is on a lap. He's a second down on his time though, so I don't think he's still on a lap. But crucially, Yasin has yet to set his time. I believe he did his banker lap on the mediums, and then opts to use the one set of softs only. So like that, you can have two fresh set of softs for the race. That will be the smartest thing to do, considering they remove hard. I still don't know why they removed hards. It's kind of, I don't know. I don't see why you do that, considering, you know, in real life Max Verstappen qualified on the hards. It turned out to be the winner tire. Totally not a Max fan. But now everyone's starting to come out of the pits. As I believe the Lensar will be coming into the pits as well. It's actually out of fuel. That is definitely an out of fuel engine right here. And it only took me, I think, a few days ago to realize that that pit entry doesn't have any gravel, so that you can't pull off a Lewis Hamilton. Now, if they removed that last year, I don't know. But the Lensar actually improved by a 10th, said there on the top right, so I don't know, weird. Hugh Butt is on lap. He's a 10th up on his time. So professional P3 at the moment. Now, there's definitely more time to be gained as he continues onwards, because, you know, rubber on track equals speed. As he flies through, and ooh, he's only 500ths of a second quicker than his PB, so he's lost a 10th through the second sector. Now will he be able to improve through the third? Let's find out. Also, I've noticed something in this game I think it's worth mentioning about, as we see Hudebot finishing his time, is that if you do not warm up your tires enough in the formation lap, or even just in general, even if you... Oh, and Hudebot, big spin there. Speaking of rear loss, I was talking about in the race, Hudebot uses the rear a lot. It's going to be a late 29. Actually, ooh, no, it's not. It's just going to be 1/100th of a second quicker than Alensar, who is setting a new lap. He's coming out of the pits now, as you just see in the background. Yeah, it was him. So he definitely improved, and I'd say he'll probably drop down to P4. But nonetheless, he did improve, and he's in a provisional P3 at the moment. But anyways, as I was talking, warming up tires in this race is crucial because at the start of the races, your tires will feel like crap, especially if they're old softs. They literally feel like ice and a lack of grip. I don't know, it's weird. Because see, last season, you know, you warmed them up to the optimal temperature, and then your race, like, everything was fine. But then, now the just lack of grip because of the wear you've used in the tires is just, it's just completely different. But, there's a McLaren who's spun, and I believe he's gonna retire. Ooh, that might actually be bad for his teammate because he's retired, and now his AI will take over. And the AI car is on the racing line. Very close to the racing line. So hopefully that doesn't affect him. But Ruthful is on a lap. He's 600ths up on his time, but he needs to be 6/10ths up on his time in order to get to P1. And Jesse is on a lap, by the way. So he is, you know, improving. As Hazy isn't improving, he's 6/10ths down. Oh wait, Hazy actually did jump Hudebut and Alensar, so he's into P3. Big stuff. Now okay, so it's Ruthful and then Hudebut. He's not allowed, so it's him and then Josh for the contenders of pole position. But will Ruthful be able to sneak himself onto pole position? No, he only improves just enough to be 5/10ths behind Jesse, so that's mega stuff from Jesse. He seems to love this track as Josh is the 10th up on his time and puts himself into provisional P8. We have a Ferrari of Choik, yes, who's 5/10ths up on his time in the second sector. So definitely in a provisional P9. So point start for Shock. Let's call it that. That's fun. Comes across the final corner now. Won't be enough to be pole position, but it will be enough to put him into P7. So great lap from him. As Savy comes across the line now, will he be able to sneak himself on pole position? He's himself into P3 just ahead of his teammate. And Jesse now comes across the line. He's 2/10ths up on his time and goes into the late 1:28. Wow. And Yasin, who's set his lap only now, goes into P5. So Yasin completely under the wire for this whole race. Or completely under the radar, not wire. Puts himself into P5. Alensar almost goes off track there, goes across the line, puts himself into P3, mega lap from Alensar. So that is your grid. Maple goes into P8, and there's also a Renault driver of Kurd who puts himself into P10. So that's your grid, I think. John is going to cross the line. He's 4/10ths up on his time, so he's definitely going to prove. Ooh, almost goes off track there. Across the line, stays 13th fastest. So there you go. That's your grid. Jesse in P1. Oh wait, is he now the gamer on the lap? No, he's going into the pits. So Jesse P1, Russell P2, Alensar P3, Say P4, Hazy P5, Yes in P6, Hudebut P7, Maple P8. I believe it was Choik P9. Yeah, Kurt P10 to round up the points starting positions. The Inaudible Gamer P11, Josh P12, John P13, DS P14, Doommaster P15, Fox, and Polar Haze, or Polar Haze, I'll say Polar Haze for now, with no times, both spinning out and crashing. So Yasin is in a pretty vulnerable, or in a bad position. He is 6/10ths behind his rival. So that's definitely something to look out for. But Jesse is a second clear of anyone in this race. So either Jesse has turned on hacks, or Jesse is just like esports level on this track. Either or, a late 1:28 is definitely an esports time. So that's a mega lap from Jesse. If he's that quick in qualifying, I'd say his race pace will be better. But whoa, it looks very, very cloudy. So definitely looks like a potential wet start or wet end to this race. I don't know exactly. I'm going to try and ask someone. Bear with me. I'm trying to get someone who is... That's Maple. Yes, Maple. Oh, I've been pinged. Let's see, was that rain? Oh, Maple got back to me. Okay. Okay, so no rain. Maple has just gone back to me saying there's gonna be no rain this race. Although it looks like it's gonna be a wet race, at least somewhere in this Grand Prix. It's not. So we can keep hoping for another day. We'll go back into positions. Everything full track map. Tires. So everyone's on the softs, except for 11th down. Sarah Bowler he has opted to start on the softs and go softs to hards. So, or he can actually do softs to mediums because those are fresh softs. So box lap 15 and then go the rest on the medium. So it's definitely possible, or somewhere around there at least. Otherwise, the rest I'd say softs to hards or mediums to softs if they're lucky, or mediums to hards. Yeah, probably mediums to hards. They go longer and have fresher hards towards the end. So we're in for a treat here in this race. But Jesse, who seems to be like the new guy in this, who is the new guy in this league, is saying to prove that he's pretty pacey. And although, you know, he was a second clear of anyone else on the track in the race, Ruthful starting right behind him. So, you know, his quality pace could be epic and, you know, practiced in time trial for hundreds of hours on this track. And then, you know, his race pace just not be too good. That happens to a lot of the drivers the majority of the time. But we'll have to see if he lives up to that or not. But Yasin, I'd say, is in a pretty vulnerable position because he's got Hudebot, who's pretty quick behind him, and he's got really quick drivers in front of him, at least from what we've seen in quali. So if he needs to, because right now Ruthful will have the edge in the championship if he finishes second, and Jesse might actually be able to jump Yasin if it stays like this towards the end. But in the race, there's only one place you can go, and that's up. But there's also going down if you have a poor start. So let's just hope for Yasin's sake he does not get a poor start and jumps a good few drivers. I definitely have good memories from starts. I don't know, my starts seem to be epic in this game, especially in this track. When I did my league race, I started P9 after the second corner, I was P5. So starts can be the difference in this race. Well, as the lights come on now, I won't be too dependent on those because they don't work half the time. As it's lights out and away we go, and it seems like a pretty good start from Jesse, who's actually, no, it hasn't actually, he's been jumped by Ruthful, and Yasin's got an all-time mega start up into P3 already, so he's already behind his championship rival Ruthful there, and that's Savy in the background who has spud, and we'll move on to him just in a second. But as we go further back to the grid, there's two white there going in between Alensar and Hudebot, so really good start from Yasin, who was P6 to P3 already, as Polar has a 5-second penalty for collided with DS. Oh, and there's Kurd going down the inside there, very send on the Inaudible Gamer, and Hazy going into the second sector, and that's Kurd, who's actually spun in the background. There's a big crash, and that's Kurd's race presumably over. He has his front wing. Oh, there was a two-man accident there in between the Inaudible Gamer and Kurd, so very unfortunate stuff for them. But as we move up the field, Jesse has been jumped, and Yasin has jumped people, so really that qualifying didn't seem to be too helpful for him, as the Inaudible Gamer spins on worn tires or hot rears. The DS seems quite feisty, but around here you really want to take it nice and smooth, as you don't want to be losing it going through this corner. But as we move up the grid, is I thought it was Yasin who actually was overtaking, but going further back down the grid, we don't see. Oh, we do see. We see Choi going down the inside of who's that? That's Polar has. So Polar has from P19 to P12, it seems, and with the ERS, we'll be able to go down the inside. And they're going too wide here in this final corner, and they make it stick. And Choi is still around the outside. He will use his ERS to try and get in front, but they're actually, no, he's not using his ERS. But we'll go with a back cam here, and Polar has and Choi giving a little bit of contact there. But Polar has trying to go around the outside. He'll have the inside line heading into this corner. They're still side by side. So they've been side by side from the final corner now. These two really giving it all here just to get that best of the rest position. And by the looks of things, they're going to remain side by side. But no, Choik finally gets the move done. Actually, no, Polar gets a really good exit and is going to go around the outside of Choik into the second sector, and we'll have the inside line heading into this corner, and that is a wonderful battle in between these two. Great racing from these two, and Polar has gone on top in that battle. Now Choik would definitely be wanting to do something of that. Will they be able to do that on this lap? We'll have to find out. Ooh, losing position. That's Fox. What is that? Ooh, spun. He spun and come back on track in the place of Curd. And it seems to be fine as there's a move for the lead here. Jesse going down the inside of Ruthwell into the penultimate corner. And he doesn't get the move done. Ruthwell's going to get the switch back. There's yellow flags in the back of this. That's Curd, who's lost it on the final corner. But Jesse reconned his P1 now. And Yasin can only watch in despair these two fight. And they're hoping that they battle hard so like that he can catch up. But Ruthwell's going to try and carry his momentum around the outside. Doesn't quite manage to do so, but will have the inside line going to his corner. Jesse giving him just enough space. Ruthwell tries to go around the outside there, but opts to go for the switchback move. As Polar and Choik are still battling. They're really battling. We need to keep going with these guys. They're going side by side once again, and Polar has now for P10, so they've overtaken someone or someone spun. As Curd in the pits who has retired, so no surprise there. Now these three, top three really close to each other, or top two really close to each other, and then third, and then there's a big gap to the rest. But DRS is enabled this lap, so we'll have to see exactly what goes on. Still yellows, but that's Curd's AI coming out the pits now, and going on the hards, but gonna pull over soon, so that's kind of done by their pit crew. But now Ruthwell will have the DRS. We'll use a bit of his ERS to catch up. Jesse not using any ERS, but Ruthwell using that ERS just to get the little boost heading out the corner. Checking on the minimap, no one seems to be really too close to suggest a big dive. Everyone seems relatively spaced out by a few tenths, even a second in some cases. So pit stops, lap 6 to 10 I'd say for the leaders. That's roughly when you want to be boxing. That's definitely a warning for a Lensar, but anything to get the little edge on your competitor in front. Pretty consistent, seems 300ths of a second slower than his previous best. But Polar has looking really quick, and Josh using his ERS there, so that's going to cause, he's still using his ERS, finally turns it off mid-corner, so he's going to waste a bit of his ERS, and there's a move going on there. The Lensar getting overtaken and almost loses the back end there in the first sector there, just entering second sector. Turning on that, Polar has and Josh really neck and neck there. There's like a plus and minus and a dash there, suggesting that they were, it gives him a little love tap. That might be front wing damage. And speaking of front wing damage, he spun, and that's definitely going to be front wing damage. And he has crashed out of this race. I don't know what's going on with people losing the back end here, but he doesn't have any front wing damage. Although he side-swept the barrier, he hasn't got any front wing damage. So he can continue to race, but his tires will be cooked as he spins again. And maybe that second time might just do it for his front wing. No, he's lived to get his front wing intact still. So that's definitely a good sign that the game wants you to keep going and not retire. But he might retire since he's a pit stop behind anyone he was just battling, which is very unfortunate. But that happens when you're still traction control, not to scare anyone off. I was trying to learn to no assists, but heck, it happens to the best of us. As Troy goes down the inside of Josh, gets the move done with the power of the subs. We'll get the better traction on the medium runners and gets the move done. Alensar going into the pits already on lap 3, so he's going to do. Does he have front wing damage? He does not. He does. Does he? He doesn't. He doesn't have front wing damage. He's going on the okay. He's going for a 2-stop, I'd say. Sus medium softs. Is that the quickest strategy? I don't think so, but you never know. Going further back down the grid here. Seems to be a big gap in between fourth and fifth. Not big gap because Hazy is catching up to the back of Hubot now for that P4. Yasin hasn't really been able to do much on these two. He's been fairly consistent along the back of these guys. Hasn't been able to get the move done. But Hazy 5'10", so keep an eye on him because he's relatively close to the back, and with the DRS straight, he should be able to get him theoretically. He's 3/10 now. He's basically pushing him through this right-hander. So since he'll be probably the closest one to watch, as Hubot chucks it into overtake. But someone who keeps in overtake for a much longer period of time is Hazy. But fortunately, Hubot did also use overtake, and he won't be able to get a move done going through this DRS straight. As Hubot does lock up, so that's going to cost him a lot of time. It's very cloudy, so I really doubt that it's not going to rain. But Maple tells me there's no rain inbound, or if there is no rain, he might be joking just to keep the stream a bit intense. As a lot of people are coming into the pits. Oh yeah, lap 6. You'd expect that really, or no, you'd expect people to box this lap, go on the hards. But boxing this lap going on the hards is also a viable strategy, as Maple chucks it in on the mediums, and so does Choik. So both going on the 2-stop, but we'll stay on board with the Hazy because he's all over the back now of Hubot. He really wants that P4, and he seems to be quicker. But someone else who wants that P4 is John. I just realized while these two were battling, John has managed to catch up, and now there's a big fight for P4. And we'll stay on board with John because there's the best view of him, obviously, and then the two in front of him if they do decide to go at it. But Ruthful's 5/10 behind Jesse for the lead, and perhaps on this straight he'll be able to get him. I'm going to quickly chuck it in front. No, he's definitely not going to be close enough. Someone who is close enough is Yasin. He's keeping it in overtake, but so is Ruthful. He has it in overtake as well. But you know what? Ruthful might be able to go down the inside here, but someone who is going to go around the outside is Yasin for P2 in the penultimate corner, as Ruthful loses the back end. Both chucking into overtake, trying to give each... Oh, hey, Yasin's got the move done, heading into the pits, but he's locked up. And that's going to allow Ruthful to get back in front of him. That basically move didn't last long, as Hazy is now the leader of this race, as everyone has boxed. So is Hubot. But, oh, Yasin does get held up into the pits. Ruthful doesn't. Or wait, he does, but just barely. And Hubot comes out behind, obviously. But Jesse has gained a lot of that, because he didn't get held up, because he was the first. So now, Jesse has... Oh, there's side-by-side action here, going between Yasin and Alensar. Really, Yasin has to hope he doesn't lose this position to Alensar, because he's on fresh medium, so Alensar will theoretically be quicker in this start. But now he really needs to get the move done, because he needs to stay. I can't speak. He needs to stay with Ruthful in order to have a chance of winning this race, because Alensar is on a 2-stop strategy. Yasin is on a 1, so he needs to be as close as possible as he can be to a Ruthful in order to make sure that that stays like that. But Ruthful is now 1.6 seconds, 1.7, actually no, 1.6, 1.7-ish, yeah, 1.7 behind Jesse. But Jesse is really close to Fox, so he'll be getting dirty air and everything. Ooh, but somewhat John seems very feisty here, going down around the outside here. I can't see of Hazy, gets a big squeeze, and I think Hazy will be going into the pits this lap. He does, to put on this set of hards logically, and John will keep going. It definitely looks like it's gonna rain. I mean, surely you'd expect it to rain now, wouldn't you? But Jesse is the net P1, or is net P1, and then Hazy is still in the pits. I don't think Hazy will be able to jump next of Jesse, but he might, you know, be able to jump Yasin. No, he won't. So keep up in front. Yasin close to Alensar, and now Hazy has actually dropped quite a bit to the back of Hubot, who I do remind you was like Hubot was being pushed to front quarter of Hazy, but now he's not even in a position to get the DRS. So he'll move up in the front. We have Ruthville on the back of Fox. Lap 8, so 20 laps to go of this race. There's a lot of things that can happen in 20 laps. Something that can happen is the safety car, which I'm surprised we didn't get yet, considering the amount of spins we've had, or at least the VSC. But I'm not complaining. Safety cars do tend to be a little bit annoying for some drivers, but it could save some as well. Because look at Yasin, he's far away from where he needs to be. Ruthwell Hazy leaves the session. I presume he's crashed. Let's see if I have him real quick. Bear with me. I do not have Hazy, so unfortunately he'll need to join back on someone else, as there's a side-by-side action going on. Ruthful getting moved on Fox, moves on 7 lap old mediums, and now it looks like there's a bit of a sunset, but that's because I alt-tabbed, and when you tab back in, it's clouds don't appear because it's dynamic weather, so it needs to regroup back. That's my gaming logic in a nutshell. As Troy gets himself a 3-second time penalty. And then SOR looking very feisty on the back of Fox here, who would like to get past Fox as soon as possible, considering he's on the fresh mediums, and Fox is on older mediums. Cranks it up into overtake mode. We'll go down the inside here, heading into sector 2, and we'll get the move back. And Hazy luckily joins back, but we'll join back into P15. So essentially, last place, because Polar is having not the best of races. Polar really needs to depend on the safety car in order to catch up, and even if he does catch up, he won't have the benefit of a free pit stop, and he won't be able to jump anyone because he's 30 seconds behind the rest as we get the interval glitch, so I won't be able to tell if anyone's close or not, so I gotta depend on using the mini-map. But this is your net P1, this is your net P2, and yes, in P3. So SOR is definitely going on a 2-stop. I do not see those memes going until the end of the race, unless if he's got like a tire wear hack or he's an OP tire saver. There's a move going on here. Yasin trying to get down the inside of Yasin, or oh my god, I just said it. Yasin trying to get down the inside of a Linsar. It's just he's at C fast with a 1:34.2, proving he has the pace. And Rithful tops it off right after, but now Yasin says, okay, listen, I need to get a move on here and make up 2.7 seconds to Ruthful. With just over 18 laps to go in this race, really anything can happen. John is quite surprised. Yasin goes purple, definitely proving he has pace as well. We'll check the leader. See, Jesse will definitely be jumping John if John boxes this lap, and he'll come out hopefully behind Hudebot. Not double gamer, so being in at P6, P7 or something. As someone who spun there, that's DS who spun and who's got back on track into P7. So yes, it might benefit. He will benefit from the DRS, and Ruthful won't. So that's definitely going to give a little bit of an advantage to Yasin down this straight. And they're both cranking it into overtake mode, but Yasin's keeping it in overtake mode to try and prevent DS from defending this. So Yasin recomes the racing line, and that's an easy move. He was 2.8 seconds, 2.9 seconds actually behind Ruthful. Now he's 2.4, so DRS versus no DRS is beneficial, as Jesse sets the fast lap, but Ruthful is going to cross the line and set a fastest lap by quite a few tenths. So yes, and the quickest man on track so far is definitely looking to catch up to the back of both Ruthful and Jesse as soon as possible, but Jesse is now stuck behind the traffic. Doommaster is entitled to fight this, but it looks like he's not going to make it too difficult for Jesse, because he knows he's on a completely different strategy, as Jesse overshoots that corner. So Doommaster will try and attack now as much as he can as a move. Back here, DS losing positions hand over fist here after that spin. His rears will be pleading for mercy. Ooh, Josh almost loses the back end there. And Ruth will benefit from DRS to Dewmaster. And he's actually gaining some time on Yasin this lap. Not by much, but 4 tenths in racing terms is a lot. Chucks it up into overtake, will have the benefit of DRS. Sails passed in to P1. And, or not P1, what am I talking about? P4. And now Yasin will try and catch up, because now he's 3.5 seconds behind. As Dewmaster, his pit window will be opening in around, as he gets a penalty there, in around 3-4 laps, I'd say. Chuck it onto the softs, maybe in the hards, but I'd say the hards will be a bit of a waste now as Maple gets himself a 3-second time penalty. Time penalties around here are pretty common, especially that last corner is pretty lethal for time penalties. Other than that, there's not really that many places you can get one as you reach the final corner. Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other place you can try and get one. Actually, no. Entering the third sector there, that double left-hander, you can get a time penalty if you extend that, but half the time the racing line isn't even suggesting you use the curve. Like here, not this one, but this one, where you use all the track, but here you don't really need to, as Josh is starting to hold up Jesse, who Ruthful is now back in the DRS of Jesse. So now these two will be DRS training each other, and Yasin can really only watch. As Ruthful almost loses the back end. Going down the start-finish, or not the start-finish straight, but going through the straight. Josh chucks it up into overtake, so he does not want to make this easy as he goes defensive heading into the final corner. It locks up as Josh does there. And now they'll be running side by side heading into penultimate lap, or not penultimate lap, penultimate corner, and no more side by side action as Josh track extends, gets himself a 3-second time penalty, ran through the track. As there's a big chunk of cars here towards the back. What has happened? Oh my god! And DS almost sails into the back of Fox, so that was very close. But someone who is very close is Josh. He's holding up both Jesse and Ruthful so much that it has really allowed Yasin to catch up by quite a bit. Let's check the interval of 3 seconds in between these two as Josh goes down the inside of Jesse. Josh is entitled to fight for this position, but would I fight that hard for that position? No, because I know they're going to easily overtake me, but now Josh is going to hold up Ruthful quite massively here. Potentially even to the point where he won't have the DRS. Well, he will have the DRS, but someone who won't have the DRS is Josh. Oh my goodness gracious, Josh. He brakes and moves back onto the racing line. Luckily, no front wing damage. But Josh right now driving all over the place and really compromising his line. There's a bit of a move here, going back to this choik on the back of Maple here, giving him the big squeeze. It's a very awkward place here as Yasin gets the move on Dewmaster, heading into the final corner. And Josh under braking again, chucking it into the right defensive. So not exactly too sure what's going on, but Josh is trying to keep it. Oh, goes into the pits actually. So really he held him up for nothing. And now Ruthful is just outside the DRS. And Yasin's back into his P3. John goes into the pits as well, I forgot. And will come out roughly, I'd say, behind Hudebot. He comes out just behind Hudebot. And, the Inaudible Gamer tries to go around the outside. But John with his fresh hards should be able to out-traction him quite easily. We'll go on board. And then SOR will be boxing for the softs again, do keep that in mind. He'll come out roughly around where Hazy is. Actually, no, even further probably. Not exactly too sure. He will definitely come out far behind. I don't think the two-stop was a good strategy. or is a good strategy, but Ruthful's now outside the DRS, and Yasin is 4 seconds behind Ruthful. So, Ruthful, or not Ruthful, sorry, Yasin needs to get a move on if he wants to challenge these two, because he's the quickest on the field. We'll go like this with Ruthful because he has the engine glitch. I don't get how that's an engine, how that's even a glitch. But Yasin losing touch with these two. Check penalties. Actually, we'll check penalties after we check Josh perhaps getting moved on Hubot. Because Hubot doesn't really defend this at all, because we get a poor camera angle. And something I learned last time. Ooh, Josh locks up. And that's going to allow these two to run side by side, heading into the penultimate corner. He lifts off Hubot, and we'll live to find another day. But something I learned last week in Vietnam. Boop. There's a camera, look behind. So now I'll be able to use this to my advantage quite a bit. Because it is quite handy to check when someone's just behind the other person. But we'll check out penalty situations because it's pretty big up to everyone. So Jesse has a warning. Ooh, Russo has 2 warnings, so he's 1 warning off from a penalty, and so does Yasin with 1 warning. So, if Ruthful does get a time penalty, Yasin needs to make a 1.5 seconds in order to jump his championship rival and put himself ahead in this race. But by looks like he won't be able to do that because actually no, he's been saving up quite a lot of ERS. It's 70%, so he might be able to go for a last lap attack, you know? It's possible. I'm not suggesting that, or not last lap, but he needs to make up 1.6 seconds if Ruthful does get a time penalty. Just over 10 laps to go. He might need to activate scenario 7 for last lap. But we'll keep an eye on him later in the race as Hubot, using all of his ERS they saved up, try and catch up to John. Not close enough, but he is back in the DRS and he locks up both fronts there. We'll move on back. I'd say probably now the gamer might be able to challenge Fox. Actually, no, Fox has the DRS, so he won't be able to do much. He doesn't have much ERS, Fox. Into the penultimate corner now. He is not close enough to get the move done. Big lockup there from who was at Fox. So it's allowed the number gamer to get a bit closer as he completely track extends Fox. So oh jeez, as Fox is really fast and goes down the inside, and that's gonna be, oh, that was almost, if that was F1 2019, that would have been the side pod death spin. As, oh my jeez Louise, where is Fox going? Fox completely inventing a new track there, trying to cut the corner. But in reality, he's just put himself in a bad position. Now the Anonymous Gamer will try and get past the Haas driver of Dewmaster. Jack and Jones, as it says on the back billboard, as Yasin now 5.3 seconds, so he needs to make up 2 seconds in order to make it up into P2 if Ruthful does get a penalty, which not saying is likely, but it is, chances of that happening are higher considering we're in China, or especially the final corner. Moving on in front though, actually no, we'll stay on board so no one else is really too close to one another. Both now, the Anonymous Gamer taking it into overtake mode, as the DRS will go down the inside, and then we'll chuck it back on the racing line and get the move done. Stewmaster is almost pushing through that corner. The Lensar goes for another set of mediums. I would have thought he would have went into the softs in the end, but apparently it's softs and mediums that are two stop. He comes out of the pits just in front, or just in the points. But Maple will be losing a crap ton of points, a crap ton of places, but Heck might be able to do something. Someone I want to talk about real quick is Bowler Has. He had an almighty start, and after his 2 spins, he's now in the middle of nowhere, literally 18, 14, 13, 12, 10 seconds behind the next person. So it's sad days for Polar Has. And I hope that there's a safety car, at least a VSC, or maybe not VSC, but a safety car like now to try and catch up to the group and get a chance at winning. As you seem to be in a really good chance, a really good shout at least. But then, oh my god, engine glitch for Ruthful is outrageously bad. But Jesse has a lot of ERS. He's been saving a lot of ERS, and Ruthful has just been using his ERS to try and catch up. So Jesse has the overall pace if he doesn't feel like he needs to use his overtake button. But yes, and still 5.2 seconds. So he's there's a battle. Oh, no, there's no battle. It's just Savvy going back a bit. Going for a set of mediums. That epic pit stop, and comes out in pretty much last place. Polaz gets a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting or multiple warnings. Move up a bit in the grid. Purple medal oh, that's a Lensar. He'll probably get a fast lap himself, or Savvy or Maple might be able to get the fastest lap. Considering our fresh mediums, and Yesen set his fastest lap on fresh hards. There's not really contest when it comes to fastest laps now, is there? But 10 laps to go in this Chinese Grand Prix. Bad completely got the wrong continents. I'm gonna take back what I said. With the continents thing, I'm just gonna shut up and not seem like a complete idiot. Anyways, Chinese Grand Prix, yes. I already forgot what my point was. Oh yeah, 9 laps of this race left. Josh chugging up into overtake, not trying to concede the position for P8. And they're still both in overtake. I would suggest maybe Alensar turn it off. But finally he turns it off, and Josh hangs around the inside. Alensar locks up there, and there's not really that much traction going off there as Josh gives him the big squeeze and gets the move, or keeps the move, or keeps the position, as there's a 3 wide battle here going on for P11, the best of the rest position, as the save is currently sandwiched in between a Haas and an Alfa Romeo, as he will have the DRS. We'll go down the inside of Dewmaster into turn 1. Someone who might be able to challenge is Fox if he gets a nice outside run and switches back. No. Fortunately not. There's a big move here. There's not a big move. There's side-by-side action. Go between Josh and Alensar here for P8. Josh hangs around the outside. We'll have the inside line. And he's completely spun Alensar off. He oversteered into the back of into the back of Alensar, and that's almost cost his race. But luckily, Alensar can continue fighting. But his rears will be a bit more cooked than he would have wanted to, or wanted them to be. Luckily, he is still in the DRS. So a little bit of contact there, to say the least. But both out of ERS completely. But something I didn't realize in this game is that ERS, even if it's at 3% compared to a 50%, they both have the exact same effect. It's not like last year where if you have under 20%, you will not have the best performance, as Alensar aggressively goes around the outside there of Josh to seal his move, as Dewmaster has now lost 2 positions in the space of 1 lap to both Savvy and Fox. Savvy is on fresh mediums and Fox on the same lap, old hards, just different laps, as Josh tries to go around the outside of Alensar, but Alensar keeps the move and has better luck. Right, how many laps? 8 laps? 9. Counting this one. It looks like Ruthful isn't going to get himself a time penalty, but now he really needs 6 in order to catch up. But he is in the DRS. No, he's not. He was in the DRS. He is in the DRS in the straight, but in the detection zone he was probably just outside. So this battle isn't over just yet. Check out penalty situations. Yasin is still on the 1 warning. Ruthful is still on the 2 warnings. And Jesse still on the 1 warning. So Ruthful cannot afford himself a time penalty. But if they do come to fight, Jesse has the advantage because he has double the amount of ERS Ruthful currently has. Go further back down the grid. No one's close enough to suggest a mega fight. Or a mega dive, not mega fight. But John has put himself in a really neat position here, going from mediums to hards. He's now in P4. I don't know if he has a time penalty or not, but even if he does, he's in front of you, Sadie sets us up with a 1-3-3-8. Anonymous Gamer and Savy going side by side. Savy gets the move done into P11 or P12, P10 points. Forgot. So now the Anonymous Gamer will try and catch back up to get himself points, but by looks of things, tire wear, etc., it won't be doable. But Ruthful has the DRS on his straight, I'd imagine. Uses his DRS. He is in the DRS. We'll have a nice slingshot because he ultimately has DRS and used a bit of his DRS. His late braking for Ruthful forces him to lock up. But that has made up a lot of time under braking there. 2/10. So showing he has the pace. Ooh, a bit sideways there, Ruthful. Almost loses the back end. But he will benefit from a DRS again with 6 laps to go. 7 laps to go, my bad. He is closer as he's ever been to the back of Jesse. And further back down the grid there for minor positions, P14. Maple will go down the inside of DS and might potentially sneak himself back onto the racing line for the braking zone. Now he's nice and doesn't move over. Ooh, someone who will get a time penalty is not anymore. 336 is his yellows as DS, who's actually spun in the penultimate corner. So safety car is a bit late now, I'd say. Taking on lap 22. But Ruthful now 7/10, so that gap is getting smaller and smaller as things go on. He's in 9.8 seconds all of a sudden. That does not look like 9.8 seconds, but if the game says so, I'll have to actually know that does look almost like a second, but he just barely managed to stick himself into DRS. It looks like Jesse is a late breaker when it comes into that corner, trying to stick himself outside the DRS. Really anything, I guess, trying to get yourself outside the DRS. The person behind you. But moving on now to lap 23, 6 laps to go. And it's really coming down to this now. But if Jesse needs to, he can use his DRS. He has double the amount of what Ruthful currently has and more. Things on the outside there. Nice line. I don't think Ruth will be able to do it now. I don't know if maybe Jesse might get himself a surprise penalty, but by looks thing, it won't, because he still has the 1 warning from lap 1, and Ruthful has 2 warnings, so really Ruthful cannot afford to push too hard, and Yasin is really just falling behind these top 2, as Ruthful is now 1.1 seconds behind Jesse. Oh, Jesse's gone to the grass there. It's going to cost him a bit of time. I'm going to check the race director a bit. Doesn't seem like much is going on there. Look on board. Does not have the DRS in this straight, so he's lost time to back of Jesse. And I'd say that's probably Jesse now. He just needs to cruise, and then he'll be able to win. But you never know. It might be a last lap spin. But they both boxed on the same lap, so tie war is even. It was just whoever managed it better will win. Take it back down the field here for Savy now, trying to get himself into P9, so 2 points instead of 1. He has more overtake though, Josh. Going defensive, Josh. Locks up though, or doesn't get the best of runs. And Savy, clean as you like, down the inside. But there, oh gosh, no, please don't. Side by side into the penultimate corner, and almost a sideways contact there for Josh. But he does have the DRS. Savy goes defensive last second there, pulls up for Grosjean. And Josh will go down the inside, and Savy, oh my god, nice voice crack for me. Savy launches himself into down the inside, but almost Josh spins by hitting his side pod, and really that's a battle that you wouldn't expect to happen quite often. Managed to make it stick, and Doommaster also loses position to Maple. Or I think it was like that, it was just me being brainless and didn't notice it before. That's probably the case. We'll move up for the grid as 10 seconds at top 2, and Ruthful is only losing positions, or losing time now, so Jesse can't afford to get himself a 3-second time penalty. He's actually put himself into overtake, so I think he might be going for a fastest lap. Fast lap's a 1:32 or something, and he sets a 1:33.3 on old tires as DS spins once again in 16th. He might retire, who knows. Doubt he will though. He made it this far. Maybe a little bit dumb to retire now. But top 2 in a league of their own, really. 10 seconds clear of anyone else. And Jesse managed to get himself a lap, so it'll be an extra point. I don't know. I don't think he'll be able to jump him in the standings. Jesse be able to jump him. Yesin. Or Ruthwell actually, because they're even on points now I think about it. I don't think he'll be able to jump because there's a 58 and then 48, I think. 58 or 38, actually, I think it's 48. Either way, I don't think he'll be able to jump him. I think he might be able to jump Yesin, but not Ruthful. But I don't know. We'll talk about him more when the time comes for him to cross the line and win this race, if he does win it. But someone who's coming under pressure now is Yasin. You know, it might be all comfortable and stuff being in P3 for a long time now, but someone who's catching up to you, Ruth, or Yasin, is John. Well, someone spun there, this Fox. He spun into the wall there, and that puts him into P40 when he was in the points. I know he wasn't in the points, I don't think, but yes, goes on to the softs. We'll try and sneak fastest lap, or try and get fastest lap. Now, the only thing is now, don't get out behind traffic, because that will ruin your chances of getting a fastest lap. But Yasin's now going to come under pressure from John, because John's in DRS now, and has 7 lap fresher tires than Yasin does. So Yasin might not get himself into the podium here, and if he doesn't, he's going to lose out in P2 in the championship, I'd say. Instead of getting 15 points, he might get 12. But now Yasin needs to prey on his defending skills with 3 laps to go. If he can be in front of him until lap 28, that'd be good. Even at the start finish straight, even if if he could stay behind just until even late lap 27, he'll be fine, as he'll be just behind him for the final DRS straight, and perhaps might be able to get the move done, I believe. Yeah, oh my god, yes, it's at 100% ERS. So how is that even possible, being at 100% ERS? Oh my god, it was at 100%, so he has not used DRS, so now he's going to use his ERS to try and leave John. I probably think that'll be what makes Yasin keep his podium position here, just with his 86% ERS compared to 56. It's not really that much of a challenge now. By the time John uses all of his ERS, and Yasin uses all of his ERS. Yasin will be at 30 ERS. That time John has 0, so really Yasin's in a good position now. If he can stay in front of him this lap, he'll be in an even better position going into next lap as Fox is spun in the long right-hander. We see a lot of spins, but Polar is not in last place now. He's in P15 instead of P16. And DS sitting in purple first sector now. He will have dirty air from John and Yasin, although he's ghosted, he will not. Oh my god, and John has completely sent one into the back of the Unhonorable Gamer. So now Josh is without a front wing. Not sure what happened there. But Unhonorable Gamer is now back in the points. For him, as a... Ooh, I think Yasin might have... No, he won't. He wouldn't have gone DRS there, Yasin, from the back of a U-Bot. Ooh, Yasin going wide. That will be a warning, I think. But now DS is drag racing Yasin. That's going to be a big eyesore for... I'm not exactly sure what is going on, but John going around the outside. DS, get the frick out the way. It's a rule. You're under blue flags. You let the people by. You don't fight them. But John's going to try and go around the outside into the penultimate corner. It doesn't get given any space. But now Yasin does have the fast lap, or DS has the fast lap, so maybe that's why it was going to keep going. But now John is completely without ERS. And I understand these two are fighting and might fight. Oh, and Yasin boots... or not Yasin, John boots Yasin. Yeah, John boots Yasin out the way. That's definitely going to be something to check under the, he has 2 warnings though. This is John. They both have 2 warnings, so whoever gets a penalty this lap will be losing the race. That's definitely something to be checked on by the stewards. John completely punting Yasin out the way to get himself into P3. And you might actually get the DRS on the back of Diaz, but Diaz still not getting the way under blue flag conditions. He'll probably get a warning. Get out of the way. Both using ERS. Why is DS weaving all over the place? He's basically ignored rules, and now he's going to give DRS to John for this final straight. So John will be able to sneak himself onto the podium. Unfortunately for Yasin. If he doesn't get there, and he does. But speaking of DRS, 1 second clear of anyone in this race in qualifying will come across the line to take P1 in this race, and Ruth will very closely behind. But this is not the battle over for P3. It's not over just yet. John gets a horrible exit, and Yasin goes down the inside to sneak himself into P2, and they're doing a drag race to the line. Who's going to win the drag race? And it's going to be John who wins the drag race to get P3. A very intense ending there to this race, and it's very close. But Yasin now in P3 in P4 rather than P3. Great race from John, but I definitely say they'll be going to stewards. Eventually, Hudebot picks himself into P5, Choik in P6, who managed to keep those mediums going until the end of the race. Oh my god. Hazy P7, Alensar P8, Savvy P9, and the Unhonorable Gamer to round up the points finishing positions. Josh best of the rest, Maple P11, P12, sorry, Dewmaster P13, Fox P14, and in last place, unfortunately, Polar Haze. It was a great race. Now will that P3 remain the same? I don't know. Probably will get a time penalty for that, I'd say John, so he might be demoted down. But that was your race. Let me know what you think in the chat or in the comments once this video is up of the race, as Polar Haze finishes the race under in the pits. So he doesn't want to waste his precious engine, so come to the pit crew, and we'll end the race like that. So that was your Chinese Grand Prix. I enjoyed that. It was a nice ending to it. A very intense end as John gets driver of the day. So that's your Chinese Grand Prix. Thank you all for watching. I am your host, as always, Justin. So here we'll see the podium celebrations. As a nice jump there from who's that? That's yeah, this is Jesse. and then Ruthful, and then John rounds up your podium place positions. Now, will that P3 remain the same? I don't know. I'd say it will probably remain the same. Bit of bumper cars there from two, but I think it'll be fine. So thank you all for watching. That was the Chinese Grand Prix, and I'll see you all next week. Goodbye.